Return to the Coille Dhìomhair. So sleepy. And down they go. Thick fog. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, this is gonna be trouble. Kind of helpful. Attacked! Large, reddish-brown creature, a rust monster. Sleep. And the round shape is the sorcerer's pool. 3 large rocks. What are you doing in my forest? Nat 20s. Down he goes. Why didn't you just web him? Sturges that swarm and head right for him. Paff, poof, puff. Bugbear. Wham goes Touchberry. Bob Johnny casts Charm. When come forest, why not tell me? Man, my acting skills are just not up to this, are they? More than fingers. Okay, yeah, I'm playing the Bugbear for humor. They have it in mind that if they pass the stream, they're going to be safe for the evening, and then walk upstream, bed down for the night. During the night, off in the distance, whoever is on watch can occasionally hear, "Friend! Friend!" The Bugbear searching for Bob Johnny. It is during Touchberry's watch that the roll for random encounters comes up positive, and they're visited in the night. What do I roll? Sprites. There Touchberry sits. He's watching the fire, he's keeping an eye out on the woods, he's listening carefully when he hears a fluttering sound and giggling like children laughing. Oh, he knows immediately what that means. He looks up, and indeed there's lights playing about in the branches above him. Lights. He wakes everyone else up. And as they wake up, a giggling sound comes down.
What are the heroes of Honeywood doing here? Bob Johnny, you look sleepy. Touchberry's woken you up. Oh, Soulfire, have you been hurt? Did the Bugbear get you? It looks like a scourge has been on you. Fleetwood, why are you so angry?
Because by this time, my eldest is finding that the charm of the Coille Dhìomhair is wearing a little thin. Sprites, watch it. Remember what happened last time. You don't want to end up with a sausage for a nose or something, or donkey's ears. So they just decide we're going to ignore it and go back to sleep, right? Touchberry, you shouldn't even have bothered to wake us up. Just ignore them, right? It's a little hard to get back to sleep with the giggling happening and the taunting and the teasing, but eventually they do return to sleep. Touchberry is still on watch, sits down, tries to ignore them. When he feels on the top of his head, there's a sprite on your head. He looks up. The sprite looks down. What are you doing there?
What are you doing here? Why have you come to the Coille Dhìomhair?
We were looking for someone.
Found someone, you have?
Yeah. Yoda too. Yeah, we were looking for someone, didn't find him, now we're looking for the sorcerer's pool.
The sorcerer's pool? Oh my.
Flies away into the night. Continued giggling and laughing for a little bit, eventually dies away, and Touchberry's watch is over. Since their earlier encounters with sprites, they have learned, do not engage. Don't give them anything to respond to, or they will play a practical joke. They'll curse you in some way, and you'll end up with your pants on backward and your feet facing the wrong direction or some weird thing. So they just don't engage with them. It's like dealing with internet trolls, really. They just don't engage. Anyhow, the rest of the night passes without incident. They wake up the next day, memorize spells, eat their meal, and on they go. It is mid-morning when through the trees they begin to see the shapes of rocks. They approach more closely and discover the rocks are not random boulders strewn about. There's been boulders all through as they've gone. No, these are set intentionally. 4 stones standing at the 4 cardinal directions. They don't know that, but that's true. All equidistant from one another, equidistant across and from each other in the diamond. Their hackles are raised, they detect trouble, and there is trouble. So they decide they're going to go around. Like the Dryad, they're just going to avoid it entirely. So we're going to just go around it. Okay, move the minis and show me where you're going. Okay, here we are. All right. Ruler, measure. You begin to hear voices. You begin to hear voices calling to you. It sounds like they're coming from a distance. You hear... Touchberry, is that your mother calling you? She has prepared a beautiful meal for you and wants you to come and eat. She says, you must be so hungry. Come and eat. Come. Fofire, is that your father? Your father is calling you. He says, Fofire, come back. Come back. Quit tromping around with all these dangerous people. Come back. And Bob Johnny, is that your brother Sleekfoot calling you? Fleetwood, you hear Sleekfoot too. Saying, brothers, where are you? You have been gone so long. You belong here with us in the woods in the Elven Kingdom. Come home, come home. All these voices urging you to go back home. Go back where you came from. And roll a saving throw versus spells. Now, most of them make the save. They do. Except Fofire. As the human, she's got the least resilience to this kind of stuff. She says, I need to go home. I need to go home. But the other three bodily pick her up and carry her away. She isn't violent, she isn't struggling, she just really wants to go home. They carry her away from the stones. And once they get, 100 yards or something like that, once they get far enough away from the stones, I roll, you no longer hear the voices calling you. I said, you no longer feel that urge to return to your home, but boy, you miss your dad. You really miss your father now. Well, that was a little unsettling. Let's keep going. Finally, in the early afternoon, they approach a clearing. They can see it's a clearing because there's simply more light here. And it seems to be playing off of something. There's reflections and sparklings. Water. The sorcerer's pool. They draw closer, and they can see a low stone circular wall enclosing water. There's no source for the water. They don't see it bubbling up anywhere, and it's certainly not draining away anywhere, but there is water in this pool. They approach. As they approach, from the pool arise 4 columns of mist and steam, which coalesce and condense and form the vague outlines of humanoid shapes. These shapes step out of the pool onto the ground in front of it and stand, each of them across from a member of the party. All right, what new devilry is this? Let's approach. You walk toward the figures. They remain still. Hello, we wish to look into the sorcerer's pool. Nothing. Okay. We're just going to look in the pool then. Fleetwood begins to approach, and he's making to go around the 4 figures, but as he does, the one across from him shifts to be between him and the pool. Okay, I'll go this way. He shifts back. No matter what you do, this figure remains between you and the pool. Now, he doesn't approach the thing, within close range, but he's trying to get around it. Well, I'm going to try to go all the way around. The further you go, it just follows you. So about a quarter of the way around the pool, he gives up and comes back. All right. Well, they just missed, right? What could they do? So he picks up a stick. Fleetwood does. He says, I'm going to try just tossing the stick through them. I say, how are you throwing it? I ask this for a reason. He says, just like that. Just toss it through. Okay. You toss it through, passes directly through the misty figure. All right. What could it be then? Maybe it doesn't let living things through. Can we find a chipmunk? Could I throw a chipmunk through it? Which I don't know why a chipmunk, but I like the idea of finding a chipmunk and throwing chipmunks at these things. No, you can't find a chipmunk. Okay, well, how do we know it's going to stop us? Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. I'll walk up closer. He walks right up to it, comes within 3 or 4 feet, and stands. I say it stands looking back at you. You don't see eyes, you don't see a face, but you know it's looking at you. Okay. I'm just going to try to push past it to the pool. You step forward, and the creature steps into you and pushes against you. It's made of mist, but there is force here, irresistible, and it pushes you back and then withdraws. All right. Meanwhile, the others are spreading out, and as they do, each of them has one figure tracking them, following them at all times. Fleetwood, who has his sword out, incidentally, as soon as they saw these things, weapons were out, he says, I'm just going to touch it with my sword. I'm not trying to attack it, I just want to touch it with my sword. Just touch. Say, all right. The sword goes into the mist, and the figure stretches out its arm, and as it stretches its arm out, its arm extends as if there's a blade in it, and it touches you. Take 2 points of damage. Icy cold shoots through you as this ghostly blade enters you and pulls away. Okay, now they've got it. These figures will mirror what they do. All right. So if we don't attack them, they won't attack us. No, they won't. But they won't let us get to the pool. No, they won't. At one point, Bob Johnny thinks he'll climb up a tree and jump in. I say, no, the trees don't grow above it at all. They're back a few feet from the thing, and none of the branches overhang. They all grow straight up and away. This pool has some sort of aura around it. It won't let anything grow there. Okay, how are we going to do this? Finally, they say, combat it is. It's the only way through. We have to fight them. All right, they've already got their weapons out. Let's go. It's not a case of initiative because each creature responds. It will never initiate, so they always have initiative. They attack. In the first round, each of them hits, and Foefire shoots with her bow. The others all strike with melee weapons. As they hit, the creature responds. And in each case, they're just figures, no weapons. But as they go to respond, like in Bob Johnny's case, the creature reaches up and in its hands appears this stream, like from its hands extends steam and mist to form a ghostly weapon. It slashes down, it hits. And in the first round, they all get hit as well. So they do one round of combat, and then they say, stop, stop, stop. Okay, this is going to kill us. If every time we hit them, they hit us, we're going to be killed. And they seem to intuit that these creatures have the same strengths that they have. They have stumbled onto precisely what these creatures are. I call them the guardians of the pool, and what they are essentially is mirrors, shadows, vapor versions of the player characters. They have the same hit points, they have the same armor class, they have the same damage when they strike. So if you hit them with a club, 1d4, you'll get hit with something that will do 1d4 back. If you hit them with an axe, which does 1d8, you'll get 1d8 back, etc. Everything you do to them, they will return to you. But the key here is, if you attack them, they will attack you, even if you don't hit. And they will attack, and they have to roll as well. So you could damage them, and they might miss. But you might miss, and they could damage you. So you could end up getting walloped by this thing and not even affecting them. All right? This puts the players on edge, and there's a dispute. Let's not even bother. We can't win. We'll all get killed. In fact, Bob Johnny elects not to fight anymore. He's just going to step back and not get into it, because he thinks this is a sure way to death, right? What they don't know is if they are killed by these creatures, the damage isn't real. All of the hit points that are being taken from them in this combat are phantasmal. They're not real. If they are killed, they will fall to the ground and vanish, and they will reappear at the feet of the satyr, who will look down at them and say, "You must defeat yourself to gain the pool's visions or suffer pain." Yes, I am channeling the Darth Vader vision scene from Dagobah in The Empire Strikes Back. In fact, if the party had behaved themselves throughout the Coille Dhìomhair, behaved themselves with honor, with restraint, with kindness, with gentleness, essentially if they had been truly lawful throughout the entirety of the secret forest, they could have approached the pool unchallenged. If, on the other hand, they had been entirely violent, if they had attacked the satyr and the dryad, if they had killed the rust monster, if they had killed the bugbear after it had been charmed, then they would have been attacked outright as they approached. As it was, their behavior throughout the secret forest was mixed, I guess. The centaur was a stain on their behavior. Because of that, they were met with themselves. They were attacked only when they attacked, but when they did attack, they were attacked back with just as much ferocity. They were met, essentially, where they were, in a sort of morally ambiguous place. But they don't know this. The key to defeating these things, and they don't know this, is to work together, to not try individual combat, but to gang up on one of them. If one is defeated, then whosever mirror is gone can attack with impunity, because the mirror will only attack its own person if that person attacks, which is eventually what they do. And I don't remember why they do it, but Fleetwood starts to attack Foefire's mirror, and I think it's because she was so low in hit points. He figured, well, I'll try to take that one out. Of course, he hits her mirror, his mirror hits him, not Foefire. And Foefire's mirror doesn't attack at all when he attacks it. Oh, okay. Touchberry, attack my mirror. So Touchberry attacks Fleetwood's mirror, but of course Touchberry's mirror hits him, so that doesn't help. Eventually they work it out, and they all pile on Foefire's mirror and kill it. It doesn't take much because, again, she didn't have that many hit points. The only person not hitting Foefire's mirror is Foefire, because, of course, if she hits any of the mirrors, her mirror will hit her back. So she ignores it. Then they stand back. What's going to happen? Their mirrors are hitting them, right? And at this point, Fleetwood gets down to 7 hit points. Yee. All right. One more hit could take him out. Because remember, he has a short sword, but he also has a strength bonus. And he also has it's a magic sword, so it's a +1. So he can do over 7 hit points of damage. He can do 9 hit points of damage in one hit. If he attacks anything else now, his mirror can attack him and has the potential to do 9 hit points, which would kill him. So Touchberry finishes off. Touchberry had the most. Touchberry finishes off Foefire's mirror. Then they all like, okay, Foefire, how many hit points do you have? And she was like at 12 or 13 or something. All right, shoot one of the other ones with your bow. She does. No response. Her mirror is gone. And they were expecting, I think they had him shoot Bob Johnny's because Bob Johnny had drawn out of combat. He still had plenty of hit points. If Bob Johnny's mirror responds by attacking Bob Johnny can survive it. Nothing. So then Foefire just pulls out her sword and does away with the other 3 mirrors. That was a fun one. That was a fun one because they had to think it through, right? They didn't understand the mechanic at first, and they still didn't at the end know that the damage wasn't real until I say, as the last of the vapors, as the last of the mist figures vanishes. As they're killed, they just dissipate. As it vanishes, you feel yourselves stronger. Add back all of the hit points you lost in this combat. Ah, okay. Now, what we came for. The pool. You approach the pool. Who's going to look into it first? Fleetwood says he will look in first. You look into the pool. At first all you see are the reflections of trees, the trees that surround the pool, reflected in the still water. But as you look, that still water begins to ripple and move and roil, and the trees begin to lose their shape. They become amorphous and then re-solidify as buildings. You are flying over a city. It's a city you recognize. There in the distance is a tower. It's Marnock's Kill, the Shrine of Marnock. You swoop around it and back in toward the market square. There are all the colorful booths of the sellers. There's the rope seller, the wine seller. You recognize them. You swoop into the Count's palace, through the balcony and into his audience chamber. There is the Count. He's standing at the foot of his dais, speaking to 2 merchants who seem to have had some dispute, and he's resolving it, getting them to cooperate, to agree, and then sending them away. They bow and retreat. You stay with the Count, as from behind him a shadowy figure emerges. Into the light, it's Sandor Clegane. It is the Count's right-hand man who approaches, and as he approaches, your focus goes entirely to his face. You are filled with anger. And then you're back in the forest. Okay. Oh, me next! Me next! Me next! Touchberry and Bob Johnny both want to go. Touchberry leans over. Same description. The trees resolve themselves, and now you are flying over open countryside. You see the grasslands. There's a road below and a river. You are entering familiar country, gentle rolling hills and farmland. It's the Shire. You soar over the towns of the Shire, familiar to you, past the northern town, past where you battled the goblins. You can still see the hill on which you fought. But you bank away to the north and the west, over the forest, and you can see through the bare trees the ribbon of a river glistening below, and you follow that river up to a lake, not as large as a great northern sea, but a large lake across which there are mountains. You swoop toward those mountains until you see the opening of a cave system. Beside the opening are two statues of dwarves, one holding a great axe, the other a great hammer, which almost meet over the peak of the entrance. Their dwarves are busy at the base of this opening. They are piling up blocks. They are barricading the entrance. All around there are dwarves watching, scanning the skyline carefully, watching the land. They are on guard. They are nervous. The vision fades. Bob Johnny steps up. My turn. He looks in. The trees again swirl, and for you they resolve themselves into the shapes of mountains. This is a range of mountains you do not recognize. They are strange to you, but you swoop toward them, and as you do, you can pick out on the ground a road leading toward the mountains. It enters them as a trail leading higher and higher. You follow it zigzagging through rough ground, up higher and higher, until it reaches a crevasse, a canyon, narrow but deep, impossibly deep, over which stretches a narrow bridge. On the opposite side of that bridge is a horse and rider. You can barely make them out, standing, immobile, silent, still. When the vision fades, you're back in the forest. Finally, Faux Fire. Her vision swoops her over a river into the marshlands. She recognizes it. It's the same marshlands that they have been through, where they fought the lizard men, where they found the barrow, up the rapids toward Honeywood and home. You begin to circle the small village, and you see its people out and about in the streets. The gates are all closed. All of the entrances are barred, although it is the middle of the day. You swoop down to the mayor's home and in through a window, and there you see the mayor pacing. Around him there are Sulix and Parson Supple and Sir Trevor. All of his normal counsel, all of his normal help is there. He is worried. He is nervous. You don't hear any words. You don't know why. It vanishes, and you're back in the forest. Okay, doesn't matter where we go. Well, we got to go somewhere. There is trouble all over the place. All right, but that combat in front of the pool took a long time. The visions have each taken some time. It is now late afternoon into early evening. If you leave now, you are going to soon be walking in darkness. Well, we're going to have to make camp. Let's just make camp here. That way we can start fresh tomorrow and hopefully get out of these woods in no more than 2 days. Very good. Where are you going to camp? And we've got minis set up and the board set up. Well, here, we'll just set the tent up here. In fact, my eldest even takes a little piece of paper and folds it into a tent and says, right there. Okay. You step away from the pool, and immediately behind you 4 figures rise and approach the edge of the pool and stand silently. So, they won't attack us until we attack them, right? They won't attack unless you attack them. Well, I guess we'll just camp here with these 4 creeps watching us, which is what they do. It's a little unsettling camping with 4 silent figures watching you. Figures who you know have your strength, your abilities, but there they are watching you. They make camp. Because they're so close to the pool, nothing's going to disturb them. Nothing comes here, only the silent guardians. They then spend 2 days getting out of the forest. There's no big adventures along the way, a couple of little things. One thing, when they get to the stream and cross over, they discover bugbear tracks going all up and down it. Apparently the creature did not want to cross this stream, likely because he is afraid of the sorcerer's pool. He believes it to be haunted, and this stream is kind of a boundary between where he lives and where that thing is. They cross over and continue. At one point, they come across a set of footprints that look very familiar. It turns out it's their own footprints. Not left when they came to the pool, but left earlier that day. They've made a big circle. They're kind of doing a Winnie the Pooh around the trees, right? You know, I believe it's a woozle. Anyway, they figure that out eventually and strike off in a new direction instead of following the footprints longer. And eventually, finally, rediscover the places they'd gone before, staying well away from the Sturges, staying well away from the Dryad. They rediscover the initial trail that they had made, because they crashed through here. Remember, there's snow everywhere. They rediscover their initial trail, and out they go. One of the things they pass on their way out, of course, is the lair of the rust monster in the old smithy. As they approach, they can hear it snuffling around. It of course, long since woke up. They hear it snuffling around, and it begins to come out of the ruins toward them on the rough path that they've made through the snow. As it approaches, they have to decide, what are we going to do? Instead of putting it to sleep again, instead of attacking it, they just decide, we'll just go. We'll just, walk away. We're faster than it is. We can outrun it, no problem. In fact, they decide to go further, and reaching into their coin purses, Fleetwood and Touchberry each pull out some coins and throw them down in the snow behind them. Copper, silver, gold even, and leave those behind for the rust monster to find. So they feed it, in a way, which I found charming. And out they go. There stands the satyr on the same rock that they left him at, almost as if he's waiting for them. You come through brush, you come through tree. Tell me, what did you see? What we saw is what we saw. Well, I don't think we want to tell you. Not to tell? Well, that is wise. These things you saw were for your eyes. Yeah, we kind of figured that. Bye. And out they go. Now, by the time they leave, it is again late in the day, late afternoon, early evening. I ask, where do you want to go? And the first thing they say is, well, let's go back to Babblebrook. There's an inn there, we'll stay at the inn. And then Fofire points out, maybe not a good idea. When we left that place some 4 or 5 days ago, there were dead bodies everywhere. And we didn't explain to anyone why, what it was about. The captain of the guard was dead in the Reeves hold, but was seen charging out of town. The Reeves body is in an alleyway, buried under boxes. Someone else will have discovered that by now. They're not going to welcome us. They were not welcoming to us the first time. They are really not going to want to see us now. The rest of the party say, yeah, that's probably true. Maybe we stay well away from Babblebrook for now, at least. They decide instead to head more of an northeasterly direction. This eventually brings them to a road, but I say night has fallen. It is dark now, and Fofire is having some real trouble. Remember, the elves have infravision, and as long as Touchberry carries the cat's eye marble, which they found back in the mummy's tomb, as long as he carries that, he has dark vision as well. Fofire, out of luck. Anyway, the night has come, and even with infravision, it's not easy to make your way through an unfamiliar landscape. What are you going to do? Well, I guess we make camp. Let's pull away from the road a ways so that we don't get seen too easily. Let's pull away and make camp. And there they camp. As they go to sleep, they are haunted by visions of a lone rider on a bridge in the mountains, of the dwarves preparing for war, of the mayor of Honeywood worried about something, and the face of Sandor Clegane and the rage that it engendered. There is a lot to untangle.